Bonjour, willkommen, howdy, and welcome to the FARG Motor Pool. Here we are on exercise, well, we're at a show really, here in lovely, sunny south of the UK. We've got a really delicious lineup for you to have a look at, so later on this video we'll be going through all the weird and wonderful stuff that I'm surrounded by at the moment, and it's really exciting, so do stick around to find out. So, what are we doing this morning? Okay, so we're doing a presentation to the public with the AMX13 105. So we're just doing what would be described as our morning parade. So we're just checking this vehicle over to make sure it's in a fit state for us to be able to drive it without any problems when we go in the ring a little bit later on. We're also going to be firing a pyrotechnic. We're doing 200 grams of fast burn black powder and a little bit of petrol sprinkled in there as well, knocked up by the SFX company. Thank you very much for those charges, and we'll be letting those off in the ring as well to do sort of a simulated firing. So let's go around the team, find out what we're up to. Ollie's behind you holding the camera, I'm in front doing a bit of presentation and just basically arsing about. Let's go and see people that are doing the work. Right, Georgie boy, what are you up to?
I've just been checking the diff levels, making sure they're all right, making sure there's no leaks or anything as well, just going under the inspection hatches really, going over it all, and the engine side of it.
Okay. Kobe, what are you up to?
I've just finished wiring up the gun, so we'll be firing a bit later on, so I've just rigged up the wire to the inside so we can fire the charge off.
Great, and I've just checked the levels on the fan. We had a bit of a leak, well, we had a massive leak. If you've seen our last video, we're on Western-super-Mare, it was an absolute nightmare. 10 hours upside down in this sort of temperature trying to fix an oil leak. It's done. We then subsequently found another leak, which is on one of the pipes that feed the hydraulic fan. We fixed that as well, but it's still dumped quite a bit in on the floor. So moving the tank around, driving it yesterday when we were unloading, that oil's moved about, so we need to tidy that up. So what we're going to do now is we're going to tidy everything back up. We need to get into our uniforms. We need to have a chat with the organisers about when they want us to do the firing of the main gun, and then hopefully in the next few minutes of footage you'll see us hurtling around in the AMX and a big loud bang at the end of it. See you in a bit. Do you set off these charges in the barrel of the tank? So I think we've gone through that once before in one of our earlier videos, but basically we place a charge up in the end of the barrel, and it's actually inside of what was called a concussion pot, which is a steel pot that basically controls the burn and stops the pressures transferring to the end of the barrel. Because the problem is obviously those pressures went into the end of the barrel, there's a chance you could put a split in the barrel because it's not used to having that amount of pressure at that particular point. So what actually happens is we have 200 grams, maybe up to 250 of black powder, and they come in, which is all wrapped up in here, they come in just a plastic pot really, and in top of that goes this, and this is our igniter, can you see that there? And this is wired into an electrical system that we have inside of the tank so we can control it going off from inside of the turret. So we've got Ollie up here, so he's got one end of the wire there, and he's got what we call a dead man's box, and in there you insert a key which activates it, and there's a button. When you press that, there's a little 9-volt battery inside, and it sends electricity all the way down the wire, all the way to the end, and then these two wires are inside of the what's basically a sort of a firework really, and then these spark and ignites the black powder. So what we're going to do now is we're going to test with this. So this is an igniter, and we're going to wire that up to the end of these two here, and we're going to see if we can set that igniter off. So there's no powder, there won't be any bang, but there should be a bright sort of burn on it. So Ollie's going to show me the wires, which shows me that they're not connected, which is really good safety. Can you please connect the wires to the dead man box? Okay, if you can arm it, please.
Armed.
It's armed, so we'll go around, and when I say fire, if you can just press the button. Okay, and fire. Perfect. So we know that system's now working, so we can go into the ring, and we can make a bigger bang. So that wasn't a great deal, but that is enough there to set off. There, can you see at the end? The ignition material. There we go, fantastic. So we're all good for our next. You enjoyed that. Nice big bang there at the end. The tank is performing like something else since we've done all the fluids on it and readjusted all the steering. It's just absolutely mint and thoroughly enjoyable to drive. We did one power slide, but we don't want to do too much because the crowd's there, but I could have absolutely ragged it, but not allowed. So here we are at the Solent show. This is one of the best shows in the south of the UK, in my opinion, my humble opinion. We've got loads of kit here this year. And what's fantastic to see, of a special interest to me, is we've got quite a large lineup of French kit. And it's French kit that's still in its own markings, because so many of these Jeeps end up with different markings from different nations on it, but we've got these are quite original. So let's run down the line and see what juicy bits of kit we've got. So you all know about this one. So this is the AMX13. It's a 105 because of the size of the gun. And as I've been constantly educating people on the internet, this is a 105. It's not a 90mm. It genuinely is a 105. I won't get a tape measure out. I'm not going to be that anally retentive, but this is the larger gun. That gun came out of the AMX30, and they basically shoehorned it into the AMX13 and cut the barrel and put this enormous sort of compensator on the end to try and stop the recoil. So this wasn't or didn't work. It was sold to a number of other countries, mostly in South America, but the French didn't use it in their own forces. But this did start out in the French army, ended up in, you've got to remind me, where Dominican Republic, and then it went to Belgium, Indonesia, and now back to me in the UK. So it's more widely travelled than I am. You know. Let's carry on, have a look else we've got. So going down the line, Hotchkisses, my favourites. All these start out as M201s and they all get changed very slightly and turned into other things. So what we've got here is sort of a brief history of how the French try to develop a system for destroying tanks, mostly in Europe, fighting on the German planes. But what we're looking at is we've got a MIlan starting here. So this is a missile-based anti-tank system. Preceding sort of the advent of missiles, there was something called the antitank. So this was the French, and these were missiles that were contained in boxes, and they used to mount them, two on either side of these little Jeeps, and rocket around the training areas in Germany, and they were for firing these missiles, and they're guided by wires by the passenger into targets. We don't have one of those. There is one in France in a museum. We are working on trying to reconstruct one here in the UK, but that's a little gap that we've got in our lineup. But this takes us really neatly onto the 106. So it's called the 106 SR. Let's go and have a look. The nomenclature of this is the 106 SR. 106 you might think is 106mm. It isn't 106mm, it's actually 105. So believe it or not, the tank we were looking at the very end has the same calibre as the vehicle that I've got stood behind me. You may think, well, how the heck can this fire? Wouldn't that just tip that Jeep over? And the reason that it doesn't is because it's using a recoilless rifle. Now, very, very quickly, for people who don't know what that is, it's a long barrel, you put a particular round in, and when the round goes off, a certain amount of gas goes to push the projectile out the end of the barrel, but a certain amount that compensates for that shoots out the back. That's why these are quite sort of dangerous for both the user and for the person as recipient on the other end. The thing is with that, you have to use an incredible amount of powder to try and get that charge to move at such a speed as to be able to penetrate armour. So they're really quite big shells in there, and they've got loads of perforations in them, a bit like a tea bag, that lets gas go backwards as well as going forwards, and that sort of should compensate. Doesn't mean the thing doesn't rock like Billy-O when they fire, but that's how come you can get such a large calibre fired out such a small gun. The tank on the very end, obviously, that is trying to absorb the recoil. So therefore, the gun is on a recoil pack, and that sort of tries to slow down the inertia as the gun moves backwards. So that's really good to see a 106 SR in the flesh. We've done a video on that before. Please look at the links in the end screen, and you can have a really in-depth run around one, but this is just sort of a touch base with you. And do you know what I've got next to it? Another one. Oh my goodness me. How can you ever expect to get two together? I don't think I've ever seen two together in a long time that I've been researching French militaria, apart from when they were obviously in service. And they'd be moving around in groups of 3, 4, or even 5. So the fact to get two in private ownership parked right next to each other at this show is something quite incredible. I've owned a number of these. They're absolutely fantastic. They're great fun, but they're quite easy to turn over. So what we're thinking of doing, and we'll have a video out on that soon, is we're going to put a roll cage on one just so we can use it on the road and have a seat belts. So anyway, back to where we were before, two 106s. We'll go into a little bit more depth later in this video, looking around at how they work, because they've got this wonderful 50 caliber botting gun on the top of it. So it's quite an interesting bit of kit. And let's go and have a look at the very end, which is one of my favourites, and that is the replacement for the Hotchkiss Jeep. This is probably one of the most wariest P4s that I've seen in a very long time, and it's fantastic credit to Chris and all the work that he's put into it. What we've got is the 50 caliber up on the top, so absolutely yes, these vehicles did come mounted with various machine guns on the top. They started out sort of AA52s, which is, we'll have a look at one of those in a minute, which is sort of the light machine gun of the French army, but also they did put on 50 cals. And to do that, you have to sort of strengthen, if you can see these legs below, strengthen that part of the vehicle to make sure that it doesn't rock around. Now 50 caliber, because it's so heavy, actually don't get that much recoil off of it. I know some people are going to be screaming, going, yeah, massive recoil. Yes, you're quite right. But because of the weight of the gun, it really does transfer that down through the pintle. We've got a lot of motorbikes going past, hopefully you can hear me. Right, let's go around and see what other weapons we got dripping off of this Peugeot. Because this Jeep is in configuration with the windscreen down, so you can actually use the gun. The thing is, if you have the windscreen up, then you can't really move the machine gun around in a passenger position because it just collides with it. So usually these were placed downwards. When you start putting the windscreen down on the front of the Jeep, you've got to start thinking about obstacles that could be in your route or in the way that you're driving that might come across you. So a good example might be a piano wire put across the road, and that might just catch you in the head or the neck, and that would be a good night Vienna. So therefore the French had to use exactly the same as the Americans used in the Second World War, and this is sort of a wire catcher on the front bumper. On the side here, the mounting point or the post is very, very similar to what was mounted onto the World War II Willys Jeep. That was then carried through onto the Hotchkiss Jeep and then ended up on the Peugeot. There's a slightly different sort of plunger, shall we call it, this element here, and this actually goes up and down. Some of them are on springs, so you can actually raise that gun to quite a height or drop it back to where it is. And then we've got, they used to be called swan necks. This is quite an angular neck on this here, and then we go into the AA52. It's really fantastic to see that weapon in there. The stock is folded in, which means it's pushing the bolt forwards, which means that you can't cock it. Very clever little design. And we've got Frederic. Frederic is a member of our group. He pays the highest fees out of everyone, but he has the best fun. But he's very, very quiet. He's never really sort of engaged with us at all. So we'll keep an eye on him. Maybe he'll come alive tonight with a few beers. And in the back, just a general sort of loadout. You can look down on here, and we've got one of the smaller man pack radios. in the carrier. Other vehicles would have had sort of a bench going across, but you can't really do that when you've got this sort of mounting system for the 50 Cull. And as we know, around the back we've got our filet de camouflage, which are these two sort of bags at the back, and they are for dispensing camouflage very quickly to pull over the vehicle. A really good lineup. It's really hot, but we're really enjoying ourselves. The tank is performing absolutely the best it ever has. Steering's great, and as you know, we've done a lot of work on it recently to sort out with the brakes. Everything's tickety-boo. We just got to make sure we go out there and do a big bang tomorrow.